On tonight, David Gergen, who served as an advisor to 4 presidents, including Reagan and Clinton. Alice Stewart is also with us, a Republican strategist, and Basil Smikle, the executive director of the New York State Democratic Party. Thank you all for being here. And David, let me begin with you. You heard it there. The president-elect today called the attack in Germany an attack on humanity. Let's just run through what he said throughout the week, because earlier this week he tweeted that the attacks in Turkey, Switzerland, and Germany were all terror attacks. But here's the thing. Police in Switzerland now say that gunman in the Zurich mosque attack had no links to terror groups, at least not that they know of yet. Also, Trump called the man who shot the Russian ambassador to Turkey a radical Islamic terrorist. His motives have not been confirmed yet. He jumped the gun. Do we still have David? David's gone. All right, we're going to turn to the panel. Alice, to you. He jumped the gun during the campaign on some things before it was known if they were terror attacks or not. He won, yes. But aren't the stakes higher now that he is the president-elect when it comes to the American public trusting him and when it comes to foreign leaders trusting him? He may be right in some of these cases, but until you know, why say?
I think he's right. He's correct more than he's incorrect when it comes to calling out radical Islamic terrorism.
He's wrong on two of them this week, as far as we know, when it comes to Turkey and Switzerland.
We have a president of the United States who has repeatedly refused to call out radical Islamic terrorism, even when we know that that's the case. President-elect Trump is not afraid to call radical Islamic terrorism what it is.
But why jump the gun? Why jump the gun and do it when you don't know? That's my question.
He was right when it came to Berlin. But here's the point.
But I'm asking you, Alice, about Switzerland, where they say no known ties to terror, and I'm asking you about the Russian ambassador in Turkey, which they don't know the motive yet.
Clearly, we're not certain exactly what the motives are. But when it comes to Berlin, which is a critical that we get to the bottom of this, he was correct on that. And I think what we're seeing is a president-elect who is not afraid to call out radical Islamic terrorism when we have instances of that. And I think that's important moving forward when we've had 8 years of someone who is afraid to say that.
Well, it wasn't exactly that. What he did was he went ahead of his own security, detail. When I say that, I mean the people that inform him on security issues. He went ahead of folks in the international community who were trying to make some of the same determinations. So it is problematic that Donald Trump doesn't seem to sort of have the ability to control his need to get out in front of everyone else, even if the information is wrong.
It is something that did not hurt him when it came to winning the election. So perhaps he thinks, well, it got me here, it can get me further. But David Gergen is back with us. So David Gergen, to you, someone who served as an advisor to 4 previous presidents, when it comes to being president-elect and soon president, when it comes to having the American public trust you and world leaders trust you, does he have to be careful about jumping the gun and saying this is radical Islamic terrorism when, in the case of Switzerland or, you know, the ambassador in Turkey, no one knows yet?
Well, Poppy, I think that during the campaign he got ahead of his skis a lot on his Twitter account, and it didn't seem to hurt him. I think people sort of wrote that off. But it is absolutely true that as you approach the presidency, and right now in particular, it's very, very smart for Donald Trump to start taking these daily briefings on a daily basis, not a weekly basis. When you have terrorists and assassins roaming through Europe, when America's staunchest ally in Europe, Angela Merkel, is in political peril, when the Russians and the Iranians are dictating the future of Syria, yes, the president-elect needs to be informed about those in advance because things can happen so quickly. And it's really important, if he's going to continue tweeting, you know, and we'd all be saved, it'd be a blessing if it just went away. Just because I think he'd be a lot better president.
It's not going away, David Gergen.
If he's going to tweet, he has to get it right.
All right.
He has to get it right because people do hang on every word.
Of course.
It's like the Federal Reserve Chairman. The words matter.
Oh, and he will likely be tweeting from the POTUS account soon. Let's pull up some of these tweets and we'll talk about them, because he's tweeted not about these terror attacks. He's tweeted a lot, these 3 different tweets about the election. Campaigning to win the Electoral College is much more difficult and sophisticated than the popular vote. Hillary focused on the wrong states. I won't go through all of them. They were in Jeff's piece. But Alice, look, he's had his first brief intelligence briefing of the week today. He's got General Flynn down there, which the optics are very good for him today to have him down there. He's tweeting about an election he won. Why? Why do that when the world is, I mean, in chaos? Look at the multiple attacks this week. I don't understand the rationale.
Well, one thing on the briefings, let me point out quickly. He's briefed every single day by his National Security Advisor, General Flynn. And you saw General Flynn behind him there down in Florida. and he gets briefed 1 or 2 or 3 times a day based on what the information is. He's getting briefed. He is going to avail himself of the presidential daily briefings, the PDBs, up to 3 times a week on average now, and I expect that to increase as he gets closer to the presidency.
So why is he tweeting about an election he won?
Here's the thing. Clearly, he feels as though the narrative surrounding the election has not been told the way he wants to. He won. Look, I know.
Why does he care about the narrative?
No, here's the thing. We all know Hillary won by almost 2.8 in the popular vote, but that is irrelevant when we're looking at the fact this is determined by the Electoral College. This is a state-by-state presidential race. He won 30 of 50 states.
I guess what is he trying to prove,
He won 306
Basil?
Electoral
But
College
that's exactly the point. There's nothing to prove. He won. He won with the Electoral College popular vote. We understand that, but he won with the Electoral College. There's nothing more to say. He needs to stop tweeting in the way that he is, because it not only, I think there may be
why
an
are we
issue.
the ones? Why why are you the one to tell me? I mean, President Obama said in the press conference on Friday, essentially Democrats have to stop being viewed as elitists from the coast sipping their lattes, right? This worked with his base. This worked with a lot of middle America. This worked with people on the coast as well. So who's to tell him to change?
There's truth in that it makes him seem accessible to people, and I totally get that. But I think, on the other hand, there seems that there's an erratic nature to it, which I think will undo him at some point in time, because, as David said, every word matters. And you have earlier today his transition putting out a statement saying that this was an attack against Christianity, and he didn't even know about that, and then wound up saying something completely different. Though every word does matter, and when you're tweeting it, the question is, are you even undermining your own good intentions?
But David Gergen, is this the new form of the presidency and communication as we know it, and we just have to, the American public has to get used to it?
I don't think it's going to be the new normal. I doubt the next president will tweet quite as much.
But for this president,
if he wants to tweet, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. I don't think it's becoming for a president. I think he ought to be above that. But if he's going to tweet, then he needs to get it right. And people do want, the trust comes from knowing not only somebody's telling you the truth, but that you know what you're talking about. But that you really have a grasp of the situation. And the presidency is the most powerful office on earth, and we need a person in there who speaks with authority and with respect for facts. And it's not out in front of the story, but he is in front of when he gets the intelligence, and then he can tell us what's going on.
Let's remember, it's been 147 days since he held the press conference. This is his way of communicating, not through us, the media. This is his way of communicating directly with the American people. Guys, thank you very much, David Gergen. So glad you came back to us via satellite. Alice Stewart and Basil Smykel, we appreciate it.